Good evening and welcome to Sports at Prime. Well, it is football season. Those are the trophies that are up for grabs. And one of them, in fact, tonight is going to be heavily discussed because another one of those is going to be given away this weekend. The Telkom Knockout final, the mighty Mamelodi Sundowns, Masandawana, coming up against Maritzburg United, looking to try and cause a major upset. Some perhaps feel after beating Kaizer Chiefs in the semi-finals that they have the ability to knock the Brazilians out in the final. Others suggest perhaps much like the Rugby World Cup when England fell flat after beating New Zealand, that Maritzburg have used all of their juice to get past Kaizer Chiefs and Sundowns will be one step too far. A man who knows just a little bit about the Brazilian team. You may well recognize the face and of course the name. Lovers Mohlala joins us live in studio. Lovers, you are still looking as young and as fit as you did back in the early 2000s. Do you know that?
I'm glad people can say that, you know. Every time when I wake up, I look myself in the mirror, I feel like I'm growing up.
There are a lot of older folks that are working in the show tonight who are very excited to see you. You, without a doubt, were one of their heroes growing up, so this is a big moment for them. Let's look ahead to the weekend. Maritzburg United beating Kaizer Chiefs in the semi. Is that seen as the perfect stepping stone to beat Sundowns, or is that them using everything that they have to beat a big team to get into the final and they won't be able to reproduce the goods come Saturday?
Look, Mark, I don't think Maritzburg is under pressure. I think it should be a great occasion for them to be in the final. And the atmosphere, you know, some of the players have never felt. I just think that Sundowns is more under pressure. We've been winning the league, but not the competition like the Telkom Cup that's coming. I just think that Sundowns got more pressure than Maritzburg United.
Are we giving Maritzburg a get-out-of-jail-free card here? Because that's almost like us saying, well, you can go to the final, and if you lose, not the end of the world, no one's upset. If you win, however, all of a sudden you become Telkom Knockout champions. So do they go into this match with completely, you know, nothing over their heads, no pressure whatsoever? Surely they're expected to put up a fight, though. I
think the achievement, it was to get into the final. You know, as a player, having that shirt that's the thing at Telkom Cup Final 2019, it's an achievement. But for Sundowns, I mean, having to invest so much money into the team, you expect so much. And I think the fans want to see Peter winning the Telkom Cup because of, you know, you used to win the Champions League, I mean, the championship, the league. But now it's time for us to take everything. If we fail this time, the fans will be a bit upset, but you know they believe in Pizzo, they believe in the management of Sundowns, and Masandawana, they always, you know, want to be surprised by I mean, the fans want to be surprised by the players, like how they played yesterday. I mean, we saw so many youngsters that were introduced, and they did well. And those youngsters, they might win the game for Sundowns on the weekend.
Where has it gone wrong, though, for Sundowns? Because you have this incredible squad, you have this fantastic the whole of Africa. As you said, he's gone on to dominate league campaigns. He's won the Africa Championship, of course, the CAF Champions League. Yet somehow he's stumbled to win an MTN8, to win the Telkom Knockout. How is it then that these trophies are avoiding Pitso Mosamani? How is it going wrong for them?
I think they're not stumbling. I think they got too many games. I mean, Sundowns, I think, is the only team that has played 50 games in a year. Yeah. And I think also it's high time when the players put more effort into winning local trophies, because of having to look at the Champions League. I mean, it's difficult. They have to travel. They have to come back and play. I think they just need to adjust and put more effort to make sure that they grab something out of the country before they can focus out of the country. I mean, focus on the Champions League. And the other thing that I think is that Sundowns is gone bigger than the two big teams that we all spoke about. Everybody, Sundowns is against 15 teams. It's not the other side when we used to have Pirates and Chiefs that, you know, everybody was against them. But I think now with the players that they have, and I know that they got so many injuries, and Sereno is on a red card. I don't know. I think he won't be able to play in the final. But I just think whatever they should use whatever they have. You know, I think everybody wants to play for Sundowns, especially players from Maritzburg United. They will play in a way that it will be like their last day because of everybody wants to play for Sundowns.
Take a look at Lebo Maboy. He was one of the guys, if I'm not mistaken, at Maritzburg previously as well, put on a very good performance, gets signed by Sundowns. Well, so you're not wrong. Is it a case then perhaps that Sundowns maybe don't take the domestic cups too seriously? And I don't say that in a disrespectful way, because if you had to say to Pitso, here's the trophy, of course he will want it. But we know that teams are measured by league success. They're measured by African success. So if Pitso were to put too much emphasis into perhaps an MTN8 and lose the league because of that, that might reflect badly. Does that mean that maybe secretly he's more interested in the league and he hasn't really given 100% to these domestic cups?
I don't think so, Mark. I think they just get eluded by the local trophies. I think South Africa is easy to play in the Champions League than to play in South Africa because of the South African teams. They know the style of play that Sundowns is playing. And in Africa, it will be easy because of some of the countries, they don't have DSTV maybe. And for them, it's a serious assignment for them to actually analyze how Sundowns play. But I just think that we have a strong league in South Africa whereby it's not an easy walk in the park. It's getting difficult for Sundowns. We're not scoring too many goals. I mean, if you look at the goals that we scored, I mean, Chiefs have scored 20, we have scored about 13. But it's coming. It's coming. I think we just need to be patient. And I don't want Sundowns to get into the field of play on Saturday and feel that we've won the trophy, but they need to go work hard. I think Maritzburg will come firing in all cylinders. And as I said, they've achieved what they wanted.
How much will Sundowns read into that Kaizer Chiefs loss? Because Maritzburg United might come in here with no pressure. As you say, their goal might be to make it to the final. But is there going to be a part of Mamelodi Sundowns that go into Saturday's final thinking, these guys beat a very hot Chiefs team, so we can't just walk in there and expect us to walk over them in the match? So is there going to be that fear going into Saturday's game?
You know, one thing that I want to say, Mark, to you first is that football is a game of mistakes. If you minimize your mistakes, no matter how good you are or how bad you are, if you minimize your mistakes in a day, then the chances of losing, they're not there. But if you don't minimize your chance of making mistakes, then you're going to lose, whether you Sundowns or you Chiefs or you Manchester. But I just think that we're in for a good final. Let's not write Maritzburg off. It's a good team. It's not a mistake for them to be in the final. And I just think that they got good players. They got Musia Medi, and they got a lot of unknown players. But they got a team. They got a fighting team. They remind me of Wits University in the days of 1995 when they won the 2 trophies. They were not a good playing side, but they were a fighting team. And if a team is fighting together, chances of upsetting another team, especially a top team, they're there. But you know what? I have faith in Sundowns, you know. The piano and shoeshine has been existing for a long time, and now Pitso is mastering it. So we are playing it, and he's mastering it.
We're speaking a lot about Pitso, perhaps unfairly so. We're not speaking a lot about Eric Tinkler, because he's turned this Maritzburg team around. This was a team that was threatening relegation, and he's now put them well up the league table. He's put them into a cup final. How much is that Eric Tinkler effect going to come into play on Saturday? Because he's had a very positive outlook on this team thus far.
I think we should give credit to Eric. Eric, he has built that team with no resources, with no financial backup. He has made players to be better players from what he had. If you compare him to Sundowns, you know, we cannot actually say they have not a good squad, but they got the best squad in South Africa. They can access any player they want. But Maritzburg, whatever they have, they use it. And I think we should give credit to Eric. He has done a lot. He has proven that he's a great coach. And I got so much respect for him because of having to be in the relegation zone and suddenly being in the cup final is a great achievement for him. And I think I wouldn't say they will upset Sundowns, because otherwise I'll be taking Maritzburg's side. But you know what? As I said, Sundowns all the way.
Is there going to be an opportunity come this weekend whereby Maritzburg perhaps keep things very tight, very cagey, keep Sundowns out? Would the option maybe be to try and push it long, to try and push it into a penalty shootout, try and close the match off, kill the game? Or you mentioned earlier they should come out firing. Are you then expecting them to try go toe-to-toe with Sundowns?
Firstly, let's hope that it doesn't rain in Durban. That's the first thing. So remember what happened when you played Golden Arrows?
Yes.
And I remember when you played Wits University, when you lost 3-0, I think it was a Telkom in Mpumalanga. And I think something like that must never happen, and Sundowns mustn't allow that to happen. because of when the Reds played Sundowns in the final, they were underdogs and they thrashed Sundowns 3-0. And I think there's something that they need to consider before they get in the field of play and make sure something like that doesn't happen. Because of, if you look at when you're underdogs in the cup final, chances of underdogs winning, they're there. And it's an upsetting score. It's not a score that you can be humiliated. And it's 1-0. And when you lose 1-0, it's like you've never done enough to win the game. But I just think that people should go there, make sure that they support the two teams and make sure that it's just a great final. I mean, we don't need two big teams to get into the final. We need good teams that they've deserved to get into the final to win the final. And I just think that the best team will win the trophy on that day, even though that my heart is with Sundowns.
Having won so much and having been so successful over the last, 7 or 8 years now that Pitso's been with the team, will he be judged by winning a Telkom Knockout? What does that do for his CV? What does that do for his resume? Because as much as we take the pressure off Maritzburg, I want to argue that if Pitso does lose on the weekend, it doesn't damage his reputation. So if he is to win it, how much is it going to boost his reputation?
I mean, if you win the Telkom Cup, I mean, eventually history is made at Sundowns. And Sundowns, I always tell people that Sundowns is not about how you play and how did you perform, it's about history. The legacy that you leave in that team. I think for winning the Telkom Cup, Pitso will keep him building a legacy on his own legacy at Sundowns. I mean, if he loses, then, you know, the legacy doesn't grow. You know, he needs to grow his legacy because of he's been a person that has came to Sundowns as a local coach that has done wonders. And if you look at other coaches in South Africa, they've never done as he has done. But as I'm saying that, you know what, he's against a good coach with a bunch of players that are really going there to fight. They're not going there to be spectators or to appear on TV. They're just going there to fight. As much as you just said that there might be a story of the box against England, where England was on fire when they played New Zealand, and when they got to the final, they just went to bed.
Is this an opportunity for Pitso to be brave and pick some young players? He's been he's had a lot of positive things to say about his young players, in particular in the MDC as well. This midweek game, we saw quite a few young stars coming through. We spoke about the depth in his team. Will he be brave enough to pick some of those kids this weekend? Or is this a cup final, strongest 11 starts, knowing that I still have Kaizer Chiefs to catch?
I think that the players that they can win him the trophy is those young stars. The one that they played yesterday. Having to have all the stars in the first lineup, eventually they will be monitored. Players will be assigned to stay with one and stay with Ever. But having to have those youngsters for him, it will just cut the pressure, or it will also let Maritzburg to relax much a bit for them to actually look. I mean, these are youngsters; they're not experienced, and they might win the game for Pitso. But I just still think that if you have to risk those youngsters in the final, they will win the game for Pitso.
Neutrals will be hoping that Maritzburg make a game out of it. They wouldn't want to see a 3-0 thrashing, perhaps. You want it to be as exciting as possible. Does an early goal perhaps settle the nerves of Maritzburg United? Are they going to be trying to come out there and really punch toe for toe and kind of find an early goal to maybe throw Sundowns off? Or is that this theory whereby Sundowns realize they have the firepower and it's simply a matter of time before the goals will eventually come in?
I think Maritzburg will be more cautious. They will sit back and wait for Sun to come at them because Sundowns is good on keeping the ball. But what I think that is on the day, depending with the attitude of the players, Maritzburg wouldn't be going there just to play, but they're there to make sure that they upset. I mean, they're not playing for Maritzburg only. There are few teams that are black and white, some are gold and black, that will be there to actually make sure that they cheer Maritzburg to win the trophy.
Have you had an opportunity to watch some of Percy Tau in the Champions League? Obviously a former product of Mamelodi Sundowns, arguably the biggest star to come out of South African football over the last, let's say, decade or so. Have you been able to watch him for Club Brugge, taking on Real Madrid, trying to score Champions League goals? I mean, that's an incredible story of development from the club and from South Africa as well.
Yes, I've seen him. I watched him yesterday when they played Real Madrid. I think you see Sundowns, when we talk about Sundowns, I think there's the only team that has produced 5 players that have gone to Europe in the past decade. And there are few teams that are sending players to Europe. I don't know what happened. So 1996, after the African Nations Cup, we sent so many players, but I think we're struggling to import players to Europe, to export. But now that Sundowns, they have a base and they've actually recruited people from Spain to come and work in the Sundowns Academy. I think we have a better chance of seeing more of Pesitaus and Bongani Zungu and Keegan Dolly. They're there. Chances are there. I think the development in South Africa is going better and better. We might find better players. Those youngsters. Sometimes we just, like Leboga Motiba, we didn't know who was Leboga Motiba. We just heard that he was playing in France. I think there's young players that are going abroad before they play here, and which is a great thing. Like Donald Bartley. Donald Bartley never played in South Africa. He just went to Germany. I think that's what we need to do.
Lovers, put your head on the block. Scoreline Saturday.
2-0. Sundowns.
As comfortable as that, eh?
2-0.
2-0. Comfortable? No goals at all for Maritzburg.
No.
Clean sheet.
No. I just think Maritzburg will be actually more cautious on defending. Zone is back. I wish Serino was back also. I wish Nascimento was there. But I just think that Sundowns has everything, has every tool to win the cup final.
I hope that there is no stumbling blocks for you on the weekend. Kaizer Chiefs suffered it in the semi-final. Lovers saying no way it's going to happen in the final. Comfortable 2-0 clean sheet victory for Masanda Wanda Kaboyelo. He's saying all the way this weekend. Telkom Knockout final. Sundowns up against Maritzburg United. Of course, we'll bring you all those details, all of those updates live on Sport On with Benjamin Leshuru right here on Saturday afternoon. Please do stay with us and make sure you get all the updates right here, right now. For Lovers Mohlala, thank you very much for your time. As always, so nice to catch up with him again. We continue with news at Prime. This is 405. Welcome to the show.